Welcome to this episode of Your Spiritual Business Coach. I am your host, Ashu. I am the coach for light leaders ready to own their fierce self expression and build audiences that trust you with their eyes closed. We do this by integrating feline energy, which helps you birth match made in heaven offers and whisker-licking good marketing. In this episode, we are going to dive into how to manifest in the true essence, not the one that is driven from the toxicity of having to be positive all the time. And that's why the entire episode is named How to Manifest Without Forcing Toxic Positivity all the time and being magnetic like a cat. So I want to talk about this toxic positivity for a second. You are always taught, most of the manifestation teachers out there are teaching you to be in this positive high vibe state all the time, which makes you want to label your emotions as positive or negative. And you start to suppress your negative emotions, or you start to think that if I am feeling a negative emotion, there is something wrong, not with me. If it's not with you, then there is something wrong in the programming. It's a sign for me to find out what the problem is. While that does help you with self reflection, but putting on that label doesn't help you for a very long time, because you start to run away from your negative emotions. You don't hold space for them, and you think that any negative emotion, if I think about it, if I worry about what is happening and actual worries that I have in my life, they will start manifesting. So I should just not think about them at all. But that is not how life works. That is not how manifestation works, for that matter, because if you do not feel it in your body, you cannot release it. If you do not cry about something, that physical form of release through tears does not come through. If you do not write about something that has been bothering you, it does not get processed out of your system. So there is no way that you can actually go on and manifest if you're not giving yourself that space to process what actually is coming up for you, whether it is negative or positive. You cannot be living in a light and love world. You also need to look at the shadow aspect and treat it with equal respect, because it is a part of you, a part of your life, a part of your identity that you're working on. And for the same, I have Anila Sita on the podcast. Anila is a spiritual YouTuber who makes content to empower women through manifestation and mindset hacks. And I absolutely love her YouTube videos, because the kind of energy those videos hold, they really lift you up automatically. But she talks about the things that she's going through. She talks very vulnerably about what is bothering her, and that's why she's the perfect person to have on the podcast to talk about this. So let's talk all about the pillar of feline energy, which is about manifestation, quantum jumps like a feline, with Anila. Welcome, Anila, to the podcast. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you here. And for the listeners who might be getting to know you for the very first time, could you let us know who you are, what you do, where you're from, and how did you end up doing what you're doing right now?
All right. First of all, I am so honored and excited to be here. So my name is Anila Sita. I call myself the spiritual bad bitch on YouTube. And I'm originally from Europe. I grew up in Switzerland and I now live in Los Angeles. And how did I get here? I got here through manifestation, truly. It's a long, long story, but the short answer would be through manifestation.
I would love to know if you could give us like the short version of that long story, because I really know I watch all of your YouTube videos. So I know most of the story of the struggles and the things that you've been through. But if you were to share anything from your story of where you were, what were you struggling with, to where you are now, I would love to know that.
Okay. So let me think. Okay, so I guess it started in 2020 when I decided to leave my family's home and I got a job, a 9 to 5 job in London, which I really did not like. I knew that I wanted to do something that is creative and something that um, is a dream of mine, right? And it's always kind of been a dream to be a YouTuber, but it seemed like a stretch. I didn't know anybody in my life that had accomplished that. I had been into manifestation already at that point, but I think I didn't fully believe that it would be a possibility. And so what I started doing is just uploading videos in 2020 that truthfully did not really perform. Nobody was watching them. And eventually I got into TikTok, I think like maybe 10 months down the line of making YouTube videos. And I kind of went viral overnight, but I would say, obviously I had so much experience talking to the camera with YouTube. Um, so then when TikTok kicked off, I started to put that knowledge into my YouTube as well as combining, manifestation methods, which really for me was just constantly telling myself, I'm a famous YouTuber. Everybody loves watching my videos. People are obsessed with my videos. That was my biggest affirmation. And I just kept doing it. I just kept doing it. I kept sticking with it. I kept seeing what does well, what doesn't, and would lean into the things that did well. And I mean, here I am. Really, it's just been a journey of trusting and, yeah, continuously affirming things to myself.
I love that. And I just want to say all the things that I love about you because I really love your dancing videos that you put out there. It's like so confident and fierce. I love your wig installation videos. I wish I could wear a wig, but it feels so exciting to see you just talk because I would play you. I have played the video of yours called Universe is My Sugar Daddy. I have played that so many times. My partner knows about it at this point. I remember the wordings of this is what you're gonna say next, this is what you're going to say next. That's how many times I've watched that video because the way you show up and just to the kind of codes you program in your videos to lift the other person on the other side and the affirmations you start with, the affirmations you end with, it just is like, this is exactly what I needed. So I am glad you continued making YouTube videos and you actually followed the path that you really wanted to follow. Now, you mentioned manifestation, which is exactly what I want to pick your brain on today because I am a business coach. I am the spiritual business coach for spiritual entrepreneurs, and I use feline energy. And under feline energy, we have 5 pillars. And I think you can shed so much insight on the pillar of manifestation. So, my first question to you is how do you become so magnetic? Because I am drawn to your videos, and I know it's because there is that magnetism that you activate in yourself. So, how do you make yourself magnetic to your desires?
Mm, that's such a beautiful question. And can I just say thank you? That is so validating to receive that because I don't think I see myself that way. But I guess to answer that and to tap into what, I think magnetism for any person, right? Like it's not specific to me, it's truly for any person, is just allowing their authentic self to come out, you know? And that means being vulnerable and sharing the things that maybe are too much, or maybe you don't feel like you want to share. Like we all have these things that we don't really want to share, but in my experience, I feel like that's probably what makes me magnetic. But as for a more practical tip, something that I can recommend is having some type of manifestation practice for yourself. And that doesn't have to be specifically manifesting, it's more like frequency work. So for me, for instance, I have been really big into leaning into my negative emotions recently. I think a lot of us, when we're manifesting, we are so fixated with trying to get somewhere and like, oh, I gotta be positive. I gotta maintain my vibration high. But I think there's a lot of power and magnetism in leaning into our negative emotions, into our rage, into our sadness, into all of that and trying to transmute that, which for me is like, again, affirmations, when you're feeling like you can't do something, continuously telling yourself that you can and repeating a story that feels very strong for you, right? So for me, it wasn't just that I wanted people to watch my YouTube videos. I wanted them to be obsessed because that would mean that creates an audience that I'm able to cater to and feel loved and feel appreciated, right? So that affirmation, it didn't feel true, but it was so exaggerated that it helped me to manifest that. So I would say affirmations and also finding ways in your life to process negative emotions truly. That's my biggest hack, whether that's through creativity or whether that's right for me, it's like dancing, it's painting, it's singing, it could even be screaming. But I think a lot of people are not tapped into that. They're just trying to avoid, opposed to like seeing the magic too there. And I think that definitely increases anybody's magnetism big time.
Mm. I love it. I love that you're just breaking all the rules here, because a lot of people in manifestation will constantly preach think positively, only the positive, and totally avoid the negative. But I love that you like transmute the negative, which is the concept I absolutely love. Now, you did mention that you manifested your YouTube success through manifestation, but I want to talk about something recent. Is there any recent experience where you manifested something and you are open to sharing of how you went about it?
Yes, yes. Actually, there's a situation today, and just also recently, I've been dealing with a lot of like boring adult stuff, like taxes and paperwork and just all that nonsense that we don't want to do. And in the past, this would make me very anxious. Like, I just would experience a lot of anxiety around doing paperwork and talking to like those types of people. And I would always walk in there with this anxious energy, and I would almost walk in there with a sense of like nobody is going to help me, and just forgetting my manifestation powers, basically. And recently, truly, it's actually manifested in a bad way every time I go in there with that energy. Like, people don't help me. I end up walking out there crying and frustrated. This has been like a recurrent thing for me the past year. And recently it occurred to me that I can literally make a command. Before I go in there, I can literally say out loud to the universe. And I did that today before going into this building. Dear universe, I really would like this to happen. Like, really thinking, instead of with my mind wants to go to the worst case scenario, really thinking about that best case scenario. What do I want to receive today? What kind of service do I want to have? Who do I want to speak to? Right. And so I just said, Dear universe, I would like to be helped. I would like to be with somebody who has a good energy, who makes me feel calm and assured, that doesn't trigger that anxiety. I would like to walk out of here with a solution. And that's exactly what happened. It was such a smooth experience. Even on the phone, as I had to do stuff, I was like, wow, I got through straight away, didn't have to wait on the phone line like an hour or two, which usually takes so long. The guy was super helpful. The situation was resolved. And here I am feeling amazing and calm now on your podcast, which usually in the past when I experience these things, it really messes me up and my energy would be so down and I would just truly feel like I don't know how I'm going to solve this. So that would be my most recent manifestation, is like, oh, wow, I can manifest these little things in my daily life simply by redirecting my thoughts and being very specific about what I want to attract, right?
I love it. And I love that energy of commanding that this is something that I would like for me to happen. And it's not the other way around where things are happening to me. I love that the responsibility comes to me, so the ownership also comes to me. And yes, taxes. I had to sit down and make my partner be like, no, I'm going to do everything. You just need to give me the access. And it took barely a minute to do everything. And he said, oh, he was resisting it for 1 week. And then suddenly said, oh, that's all I had to do. I said, yes. So that resistance does reduce a lot with manifestation and commanding. And I love this because you took an example, which if I were to translate for any spiritual business owner listening to this, creating content becomes a pain in the ass at times. Creating speaking videos becomes a pain in the ass. Trying to get clients and selling, marketing, showing up, all of those things that we need to do on a daily basis, which we might not want to do so much, can be simplified if you can just command it. So, how do you show up on your YouTube, on your Instagram with that energy?
I love this question so much, and you're just coming at the right time with all these questions, because in the past, I did not know how to answer that. And I recently discovered that so the thing with content is you don't want to make content in a way that feels like it's working against you. And I think this is what I've done in the past is like I would, you know, force myself to make videos. I would make videos on things that I felt they were going to go viral because I think for so long when you're building a platform online, it's like when you don't have that success initially and then you do experience success, you can quickly become addicted to what does well and what doesn't. But that creates so much nervous system dysregulation along the line that you're not being authentic. You're not actually setting up a channel in a way that feels good for you in your life. You're doing something that at some point is going to become a burden, actually, and is going to be really frustrating. So my recent thing has been, how can I make content in a way that feels natural in my life? Whether that's combining content while I'm doing something that I would be doing anyway. So like while you're getting ready, that's a time where okay, I can just film myself, right? And it's like I'm making content, but actually I'm doing something I'm supposed to be doing anyway every day. Or another thing is really asking myself like what's fun for me? And whenever I feel like I have to do something and I don't want to do it, that's an indication that it's not really aligned. And of course, sometimes, you know, it's work and you do have to see it like that and show up, right? Even when you don't feel like it. But for me, the key has really been accepting myself. And like even when I don't want to show up, how can I show up right now? Okay, maybe today I'm feeling like I don't have a lot of energy. Maybe I'm on my period. Maybe it's a lot for me right now to make content, but how can I still make content while I'm feeling like this? And that has really led my creative energy to just be unleashed, right? Because it opens up that the unknown, the uncertainty of I don't really know what I'm gonna do, but oh, maybe I feel like I'm kind of anxious today. So let me do some affirmations that are gonna soothe others and myself, right? So it's leaning into what is natural for you. That would be my biggest tip when it comes to content creation.
I love that. And I guess it ties in with what you were saying before, which is consistent about authenticity. And the question you said of how can I create content with this the way I am right now? And that question is very powerful because the people ask themselves the question of how can I create that same level of content that I expect myself to create on a normal day today as well, even when I'm down, even when I feel weird. But that's not the question. When you ask the wrong question, you get the wrong answer. So I love the question that you put here. Now, it feels like we're already getting into the mode of coaching, and I know you are someone who guides, it's like a big older sister energy. And I want to ask to you, someone comes to you, since there are a lot of business owners listening to this, most of them want money. They want to get money through the things that they love doing. But this happens in business as well, where they would keep offering things that they don't really align with because it sells, because that's what their audience is ready for. And then I have to call them out like, no, you need to put out something that you really feel aligned with. Now they're trying to manifest success in their business. A client comes to you, they're trying to manifest success in their business. They want to hit an income goal. They want to make it big. What would you suggest to them? What are some questions you would ask them? Anything that it's yours now, yours to take away.
Hmm. That's a really, really great question, actually. Um, I think the biggest way to like answer this is to just explain energy, because I think a lot of people they talk a lot about manifestation and, wanting to manifest certain things, but they're not fully aware of like how energy really works. Because the truth of the matter is this, if you do something that does not feel aligned, but you think it's going to sell, what energy is that? Like that's to me an energy of you don't trust. You don't, because if you did trust, you would be doing what feels aligned to you. You don't trust on some level. That's why you're doing something that you think is going to work. And it could. I've done a lot of things that were from that energy and they still work. But I feel like you hit a ceiling at some point because you're not really taking a risk. And it's not that you have to take a risk, but it's again energy of trust and energy of excitement. To me, that's the ultimate place you want to be in. And I had a call with a mentor once, actually, and she said it really well for like content creators, business owners. Usually the perfect product is going to be something that you are naturally good at, that you're, either very knowledgeable in, or you seem to awaken something in people, which you can only find that out through exploration of like doing content, right? And seeing how people react to that. So it has to be something you're good at, but it also has to be something that people want. And it's like that. And also something, hopefully, with those two things that excites you. That would be like that middle point of all those three things would be what the person needs to be doing. And there's really easy ways to figure that out when you're on social media. Like it's again looking at the feedback of people, looking at what your audience is searching, what questions are they searching, what are they commenting, what do they want, what are their problems, and really catering to that. And I think that what really makes us feel alive, if we think about a business, is providing a service, is helping people. We want to help people. So if we can tap into that genius within us, give that to somebody else, help them provide a solution, like that's the perfect business model right there. But I think most people are not connected to that part within themselves yet. And sometimes it's a journey to get there. I'm sure for you too, like it's been a journey to get to a point of figuring out like what you're passionate about, what is actually helpful to other people, right? That crossover. So yeah, I hope that kind of makes sense, what I said.
It does. It does. I want to touch on the point and go deeper where you said they don't trust. And I think that concept ties in well with universe is my sugar daddy. And I really want to hear it from you and your takes on it of how do you trust that it will be delivered to you?
I mean, the thing is, you don't really. It's like how could I say this? It's like a miracle that any of us are even born. Let's go there. Let's go there. Like if we think about the biology of the sperms getting to the egg cell, it's like you're the sperm cell that won the race. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. So when people want to act like they don't trust, you're doing it all the time. You did it when you were a baby and your mom gave you her breast and you naturally leaned into it to feed yourself. It's a natural mechanism that is ingrained in every part of nature. And I think that when we don't trust, it's because we've chosen to. And that's like the beautiful thing is that we have a choice. That already shows how much this universe is perfect and is set up in a way that is always working in our highest good. But we experience resistance. Our ego doesn't understand why certain things are happening in life. And it leads to a belief system that causes us to not trust. So that would be is that like deep enough or you want me to go
Yeah.
deeper?
Yeah. No. I love that. And I guess there's another thing that happened recently. So I've read that beyond the sperm racing, there is this element of the ovum actually deciding which one gets to come in. So people are making up memes around you or I am the chosen one, sort of, because I got chosen. And that makes a lot of sense because you were the one who was created here. And I love that you went right. I think you can't go deeper than that. Beyond conception, you didn't exist. So uh, that would be spiritual. But yes, I absolutely love that. And if there is something that you would want a person listening to this episode take away or implement anything that you are like, I want everyone to do this. This is going to change your life. What would that be?
Hmm. I think there is such magic in looking at the beauty that exists already in our life. Like, I think a lot of people who are trying to manifest, me included, like we all are human. We find ourselves in situations where maybe we don't like our circumstances, we don't like what's going on. And what we really then want to do when we don't like something is to escape from it. We avoid it, we don't want to face it. But there is such magic in facing the negative in your life. And that's where we find our power. Like I said in the beginning, finding ways every single day in your life to transmute negative energy is going to unlock magic. For me personally, I've been in music school, and every time, every day, because life, things happen, right? Every day that something happens where it throws my energy off, or I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling bad, feeling emotions that I basically don't want to feel and would rather escape because we all want to feel good, right? I really, like I said, I lean into it and I make art from it. And the art that I make in that space is always so incredible to me, at least. It feels so authentic and like what my soul wanted to express. Like it was just perfectly set up that I had to go through this negative thing to write that song. So I think my biggest thing for people would be learning to be present in your life and really paying attention to your emotions. Because the more that you can master that and keep transmuting, I feel like that's when you start experiencing heaven on earth. Because suddenly negative things don't seem negative anymore. They just seem like creative challenges. They seem like moments of growth. They seem like the universe is again asking you to have more trust because nothing stays the same. Nature is forever changing, as are we. So when we get stuck in our head about something we're going through, it's like we're again in that frequency of not trusting because it's going to change. And often, I have had people on my YouTube who comment, well, I've been in this state for years. Well, you're choosing to be in that state for years. You don't have to be in that state. And if you feel like shit every single day and just nothing changes, how can you release that? Where can you put these emotions? And that would be my biggest tip, because when you know how to alchemize that, you become a master manifester. You start understanding the energetics of this universe and everything just flows. And you start to understand too that there is, like you say, a responsibility and a power within ourselves. We have the ability to make commands for virtually anything. If you don't like something in your life, you can literally make a command to the universe and ask for it to remove that and to give you something else. It will make you become clear about what you want, and your life will naturally move in that direction. But a lot of us get stuck and we don't realize our power. And we just think that this is the way that it is and that suffering is the way of life because it is a program on this earth. And it's like, it's not. We can thrive. And when we fully understand that, that's the magic.
I love it. And when you were speaking, I was already thinking of the areas in my life that I need to be more commanding and command stuff so that I could get things that I desire. And I love that. Thank you so much for sharing this and taking out time for this episode. I would love to know, where can people find you? In what capacity can they work with you? And I'll make sure to link everything you say down below.
Amazing. Well, people can find me on my YouTube, Anila Sita 101. You can also find me on Instagram, which is just Anila Sita. TikTok, same thing, Anila Sita. I haven't been posting on there, but yeah, people can find me there. And as for working with me, I'm pretty much a free spirit and very open. And you could just slide into my DM, slide into my email, and like you did. And if it aligns, then it aligns, and I'm happy to work with people. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much, Anila, for coming on the podcast again.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashu. I was so honored to be here.
This brings us to the end of this episode. I do want to take a minute to share with you how you can actually transmute negative emotions, because I know we talked a lot about that in this episode of here is how we can share about the negative emotions, and the sentence was thrown out a lot that you can just transmute that negative energy into something that helps you. Now, what does it actually mean and how do you do it? Energy is energy. If we strip those labels off, what it will help you do is it will help you actually see it as, like how we say money is just energy. Money is not good or bad. Same thing. The energy that you're getting, the negative emotions that you're getting, they're a form of energy, and energy is just energy. If you choose to change that energy and push it towards something that is helping you, something that's moving you towards where you want to, then that energy is good, even if it is driven from a negative emotion. Now, let's think about some examples. A lot of people think that if I've hit my rock bottom, there is nowhere further I could go, like below, in that idea of I cannot hit a bottom that is more than the rock bottom. So I am going to use all that pain to fuel me, motivate me to create a life. That's where like the pain and pleasure sort of theory comes from. But an example of that I want to give here is, take an example of your life where you are not feeling good. Let's say I do not like where I live. I felt very suffocated for a very long time in my life, and I didn't want that kind of life. Now, a lot of people spiral into that negative emotion and think, I cannot do anything in my life. I hate this. And they just go into that complaining mode, because we, at least in an Indian context, have been suppressed, oppressed for such a long time that we have learned to complain, but we have learned to mumble it to ourselves instead of understanding that now we are at a point that we are not under oppression and we can change certain things in our life. So instead of complaining about those things, using them as anchors and giving gratitude towards those things, that, hey, thank you for bringing this to light for me, that hey, I do not like my living situation. So what would I like instead? Because all of those negative emotions are actually pointing something out to you which is helpful, which is actually helping you move in the direction that you would like to. And you get to choose to see them in that way. You get to see those emotions as markers, as these bumpers on the side of a road, that, hey, let me redirect you, come back here. And if you choose to see them that way, that is where all the magic happens. So thank you for tuning into your Spiritual Business Coach podcast and for listening to this episode. You've made it till the end of this episode, which means you have received a lot of universal codes that were packed into it. So take time to receive them and let them get coded in your soul. And if you're feeling a little too generous, I would love for you to drop me a review or rating on whatever platform you're listening this. If you feel the nudge to tell me what you felt about this episode, or to inquire how you can work with me and get into that feline energy, drop me a message on Instagram at Listening Stories Untold, and I will see you in the next episode.